So in this episode of our podcast, Craig is going to explain how options have been a part of the developments that he's bought recently.
Yeah, so obviously another way of acquiring property and getting deals over the line sometimes is an option. One of the properties that we bought a few years ago, the seller was selling 4 or 5 different buildings, and at once he inherited from his family, and he just didn't want to know more, so he was selling them all off. But obviously selling 4 or 5 properties on the same street is not as easy as he found. So and all of them pretty much had development opportunities and refurb opportunities for builders to come in, and he was talking to myself and a couple of other builders, and we spoke about a few of the properties, and he asked me to make an offer on all of them, but obviously knew that I wouldn't want to buy them all, just want to see where I was with it really. So, and on one of them it worked well for him and for us, but the only way it would have worked is that I'd have got planning permission on it. So I said to him, I really need to get the planning permission in place before I can get the funding, because I can't get a development loan or get any sort of structure in place to carry out the works. So he was a bit apprehensive about it first of all, but he knew that we were generally going to buy it if we got it, sort of thing. And also it's a little bit of a risk for me because we didn't put no money down on the deal. It was just it was a handshake to say that we're going to get planning, and then we're going to we'll buy it off of you, which is obviously a bit old school and a bit risky for me. But probably the right way around doing it is getting the option in place with a solicitor to make sure that he doesn't sell the property to anyone else. You get a restriction over the property. But we had quite a good relationship with the guy, and yeah, it worked. So it took us 12 months, I believe, to get the planning permission through. And obviously once the planning did come through, we could raise the finance to buy it. And we had a little bit of problems with the values and stuff like that because there wasn't much in the area that was being built like that. So they had nothing to compare it against. So we did struggle getting it. So basically what we done is we agreed on a handshake that we'd buy it off him, we'd get the planning permission, we can add value, because obviously we're adding value to his building at the same time. That's why you want to secure the property against you, which was a bit of a risk for us. We spent a few £1,000 on planning and architect's fees and stuff like that. So anyway, we done that, and we got the deal, and it worked fine. And then, recently we've been on the other hand of that. So people that we know do options, people we know that's in the trade that are architects and planning consultants that add value in a different way that we do on the building site. So they had an option with a commercial landlord that had a development opportunity but no planning, wanted to sell the building. So they secured an option with him for 2 years to get the planning put through, and then they was always going to sell it on. So we know them because we do building works for them, and they said to us that we've just got the planning through for 9 flats. Would you like to buy the option off of us? And how they done it is that they had the option with the landowner, and they secured it for a solicitor to make sure it was restricted for 2 years, and then they had in the contract is subject to sale. So they didn't have to buy it themselves. They could sell it straight on to us. So what they done is they agreed a figure a bit more than what they have agreed to make themselves some profit. That's what it's all about. We was happy with what we were paying because it had planning permission, because they were paying for the land without planning permission. They valued their value, and then they're selling it straight on. And that was bought via a sub-sale. So the sale was done all in one day. So it was done through landowner to the option to us, and the exchange completion happened all in one day. There was some challenges with the legal works, and it took 9 months to get over the line, but that was to do with funding of our own because we're finishing another project, and obviously some delays with there was 5 solicitors involved and stuff like that. But we obviously had to go through the route of it. But obviously we've done a lot of things where we buy things with planning, but sometimes, and at the moment, a lot of things with planning is overpriced. People just want too much money for it. Sometimes the planning's running out on these because they get 3 years while the planning's there. So sometimes there's a good time to get in when the planning's just about to run out because they can't sell, and then they might sell for the right opportunity then. But I think if you've got a good relay like we did on the first one, we had a good relationship with a guy that with the option is that he put trust into us that we were gonna go ahead and do this. He wanted to get it sold, and we could add value to it. Obviously we had to pay out for the planning, and obviously these other guys I was telling you, they did the planning themselves. So what they done, it was come out of their own pocket. So there's different ways of getting properties without planning. Because I think, well, I said when we first started, anything with planning we'd look at. Anything without, can't do it. It's a bit of a risk to us because it's not what we do.
It's taken us 7 years to make the transition from working with clients through to developing our own portfolio, and we can speed that up for you. If any of this resonates, please do register now and we can help you transition yourself from trade to developer in just 12 months.
The other thing is obviously joint ventures as well. So some of these people that are selling might be in circumstances where they haven't got a clue. They've just been old landlords, they've done nothing about developing, and we can come along, we can offer them an opportunity to say, look, we can do it with you, agree a price for them, and actually build it out and split the profit at the end. So there's different ways of thinking about it, and I think it's finding people's, I think you said it before, it's finding people's pain and fixing it for them, because you become, rather than become property developers, you become property angels, I'd say.
Property angels, I like that. Property
angels to solve their problems, basically. I think it's got to be a win-win for them and for us. And I think a lot of people think in property there is a lot of snakes out there, and there's a lot of people doing it the wrong way. But you have got to filter through that. Same with your trade, is that you'll get clients that want to be no good, and you'll get really good clients you want forever. And I think if you can build up the relationships with people in property that are coming to the end of their careers and they've got properties that they've found, and you can come along and inject new blood into it and give them other options that they don't know about. And obviously we go through that on our course on all different ways of purchasing properties and finding people that we already know. And I think a lot of plumbers, electricians, plumbers have got service boilers every year. So I'm sure they've got 10 or 20 landlords on their books. I bet they've never asked them before, are you selling anything? So I'm pretty sure they probably will be. There'll always be that paying property that they don't want, and they actually, well, someone else wants it, I'll get rid of it. Or if someone else can take it off my hands, they can do it. So I think options are really good for them sort of things for us to be able to get, a lot of them will probably be off-market deals as well, unless obviously they're not selling well. Obviously a JV as well. JVs, when we're talking about options, is different to JVs, but with JVs we did one, and it was with a landowner that had planning and they didn't have no build team. We came in, added the build team, we added some financing, and I think you've got to have two sides to the story. I don't think you could probably have two builders come along and do a JV of each other. Maybe, I'm not saying it's never, but it seems silly to have two people to do exactly the same thing. Like myself and you, you're design, we're build, and it works really well. And I think sometimes you can get people with finance that don't want nothing to do with the property, but they love just popping in once a month and they just want to see progress. And if you can find people with that sort of...
that skill set, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you've always got to add two things to the table. If it's a 50-50 deal, they've got to be doing their share of the deal, haven't they, really? So, and if that means bringing property with land on it and that's got planning on it, then great. If people are bringing finance to the table, that's great. If it's an old landlord that just wants his properties renovated and spun around and done, you can help them out with that. I think there's lots of different ways. I think the most important thing is listening to what they need. And obviously the guy that I spoke about, the first option, he had these 5-6 properties. He didn't want to sell them all in the financial year neither, because if he did, it would have been it was some higher corporation tax. So he wanted to do it over spread. So it actually worked really well. The other two sales were going through, and then he'd do it the following year. So and it did. And we got a bit of extension because it was through COVID, if I remember. Planning took a little while, and he extended and said, that's fine, I understand. So but I think any one of these relationships is being open and honest with them all the way through, and communication is great. Don't say you're going to do something and then don't deliver on it, because you can easily tarnish your name straight away, and they say, well, don't bother talking to him, he said he was going to do that, he's just all hot air, And I think it's the same thing when you're doing your trade business, isn't it? You got to deliver that you're going to fit that kitchen to a high standard. If you don't, then you're always as good as your last job. So and I think that's a big thing that's been a big mindset for me from going from trade to developer, is talking to people in different ways and actually thinking about what they're doing and what they're thinking about in the future. And don't get me wrong, I've had lots of conversations with people where I thought options were going to be a good deal for both, and it hasn't, and we've walked away, and JV options that we've spoken to people about, and it's like, it doesn't work, and you walk each other's way. But I think you build a conversation with people and do it that way. I know, like the JV, me and you, Suzanne, obviously works well with you. Obviously, we were working together before, so it mightn't be that people are doing that at the moment. They're actually working for a client themselves, and like, I didn't really know that the pain was that you didn't really want to be doing client work until we had actually, it got to the point where you had to, you know. So
we did have to.
Yeah, we did have to. Yeah,
we had to.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you want to wait for the real pain, or do you want to just get in there quicker?
Yeah, that's right. But I think it's like from when I was working with yourself, I would never have thought at the beginning that to approach it about, oh, let's do it together. You know, like, I'm pretty sure there's lots of trades out there that are working for interior designers, maybe architects, maybe even developers. They might be working with developers, and developer might be like, well, I'm at my limit at the moment, but I'd happily do more if I had the resources. And I think it's really important that people have these conversations, and people on our course at the moment that are going through our program are actually having these conversations with people. And I think one of them when we delivered the content about this, I think we've not even taken to the next training that he's actually spoken to someone and warmed something up, and something might happen. So I think it's just a massive mindset for people to think about these things in a different way, you know. And it's just, I think the more and more you listen to people doing it, and you go, I thought rent-to-rent deals, to be quite honest, was like a scam at the beginning. I thought you can't sublet stuff to people, but you can in the right way. And
it's not subletting.
No, it's not subletting. But my mindset at the beginning was, you can't rent a property and rent it to someone else. That's illegal. Do you know what I mean? But there's ways and means of doing it. And I would never have dreamed of walking into a multi-million-pound property company and saying to him, let me have that property, I'll buy it for you in a year's time, because people want things done now. But at the time, it worked for him, you know. And I think, and the same thing with the JV option that we did. I actually went there as a builder, saying to them, do you want to do the work for them? But obviously their pain was like, I always used to ask, and it was when I was doing big client works, was, please don't take this the wrong way, but how are you funding this, and how are you going to be paying for it? Can you prove of funds? Because if you're going to take on a development, which I did in Dagenham years ago, and I wanted to see proof that he had the £1 million to do it, and he showed me a development loan, and we met the bank, and I went through it. And one I'm doing at the moment as well, I've been invited to the meeting with the bank, because at the end of the day, I want to know if I'm being paid. So and actually some people were like, well, we want to see how much it's going to cost first, and then work our way backwards, and go, well, we can actually get you the money and do the work. And they'd be like, really? So it's fixing people's problems, isn't it? And I think, it's having that thought forward of, some people go to jobs and be like, they ain't got no money, I ain't pricing, that's pointless. Do you know what I mean? But actually, if they haven't got no money, why don't you offer them an option of, obviously you can't do it with smaller jobs, but maybe bigger jobs. And it might be that the husband's left the wife and never fixed anything around the house, and it's in dire repairs, and she wants to sell and move on, but they've asked them to come around and do little bits around the house, and they're like, I haven't got no money, he's left me. You can always offer an option, even if it's like, well, you own the property, this is how much it is, this is how much the work's going to be, I can get you, we can do it, permitted development extension on the back of a loft conversion, turn this from a £300,000 into a £500,000 house, you get a cut of it afterwards, and I get a cut of it. It could be something as simple as that, you know. And I think for trades, they're meeting property people every day, and it's just good to have that in your toolbox. The same.
Very good, very good.
Thank you all for listening, and thank you all for your support, and please subscribe to the upcoming podcasts.
Just remember the famous quote from Henry Ford: if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got.